Welcome back, everyone. Today we have a special guest, Mr. Michael G.
What's up?
Good friend of ours. We've known each other for, 4 years now.
Yeah, time flies.
It does. Back in 2020, we met. I'm in the title business. He just began his career as a realtor, which I did not know at the time because you asked me some
crazy hard questions.
Yeah. Well, I don't even remember what you asked me.
Oh man, I don't know. It was, I think, more investor-friendly questions.
Yeah, if we were investor-friendly. And I was like, I don't know this. Let me reach out to my boss, Aaron Thomas. And then I reached out to him. And then anyway, so yeah, our first impression was like, damn, this guy's hardcore. And so I had to adapt to the personality. And now here we are, friends.
Yeah.
Just, I believe in the people that you surround yourself with, like, give each other that constructive criticism, being honest, and you've just always been one of those and vice versa. So
yeah, I remember giving you a hard time. I was like, man, I think I went too hard.
yeah. Yeah. And did you have a first impression of him as well?
I did. He didn't look like he played. I was like, he doesn't play. I'm not going to talk to him right now.
We met in the backyard.
Yeah, at the back, and you just look like you're about it. Whatever you're doing, you do it, you get it done. And
yeah, on a mission.
I was a playful person. I am a playful person. So I was like, let me not go mess up his time. He looked like he's on the time. Like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He don't play.
He just told me that. And I was like, no, that makes a lot of sense because you're always on your phone or like you always have work calls or something. Like, I guess
Yeah.
like on a mission. When duty calls, you pick up.
Never stops.
Yeah. And so I think you came, we were building the fence. And at the time, I think...
No, we were cleaning the backyard out.
We were cleaning it. And you had came with pizza. Thank God for you for that.
Man.
And you came in like work clothes. And you helped. You were freaking picking up some of the stuff with us.
I remember, yeah. I was like, I don't have much time, so let me just get as much as I can
In your
done.
boots and your freaking... Anyways. But yeah, so that was when Rocky told me that. I was like, oh, okay, I see that. And then I told Rocky about my first impression. So, anyways.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, so you've been did you just become a realtor when I first met you, would you say, back in 2020?
Yes, I actually got my license, I think, March of 2020. But before that, it was just more DIY kind of research, listening to podcasts, reading books, and buying my first property at like 26. And outside of that, didn't really know much about real estate.
So many questions.
Yeah, how did
The audacity.
Yeah, how did you even get to that point? Like, because you have the Army background. So
Yes.
what made you want to go to real estate?
Well, I have to give a shout out to my first mentor, Ozzy Ramirez. Initially, I had a question about my parents' property, and I called him up, and I was like, hey, Oz, what do you recommend I do for this property? I know it needs work and whole 9 yards. And he basically told me to come to his office and come to his office and explain to me what his day-to-day routine is like. So initially, I was actually going to transition out of the military and then work at Phoenix Children's Hospital in an internship. But I was like, why not? So I went to his office. He showed me the ropes. He showed me what he did on a day-to-day basis and, how beneficial it could be as a realtor and, running your own business. And then he kind of sold me on the real estate thing. And after that, very next day, I called my internship. I was like, I'm going to be staying in Houston.
Shut up.
Just took the leap.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Told you don't play. The next day, you were about it. The next day.
And then after that, I just stayed in Houston. And then I was just kind of hanging out with Ozzy for about the next 6 to 8 months as, he was training me to become the realtor I am.
Yeah. Okay. And so you got your degree in mechanical engineering.
Yep. I know.
No.
Just here I am.
Well, for one, you're just so good with numbers, I've noticed, and stuff. You are too. And then you got your degree in accounting. And so it's so funny in what y'all do now, like just entrepreneurs. Okay, so mechanical engineering, was that a part of the internship?
No.
Okay.
So I went to West Point, graduated with a mechanical engineering degree because I thought it was a good fallback.
Okay.
At the time, it made sense. But then when I was taking the classes, I was like, I really hate this. But I couldn't change majors because this is one of those things where when you select your major, it's very hard to switch out. So I had to suck it up, do the mechanical engineering thing. And literally at the end of the year, they have this thing where they call it a FEE, which is the Fundamentals of Engineering exam. And basically it is kind of like a baseline to whether or not you compare you to the I guess, the next mechanical engineer graduate and where you stack up. So I'm literally in this test, and I'm like, I see about 20 questions. I'm like, I give up. I failed this. All my buddies are leaving, so let me just fill in the blanks. I'm going to never take this later. And somehow I passed that. And I was like, okay, so I just passed my fee, which is one step, step too closer to getting your PE, professional engineering. And then in the Army, they pushed us to do more management roles. So I did my PMP, which is my project management something, I forgot. But that's how I got into the Phoenix Children's Hospital, because I was like, hey, is there anything on the management side? So I received an internship with, I guess, clinical integrations. So I was kind of more on the managerial side of the hospital, right? So that kind of how that transition from engineering, more analytical, to more management side, and then kind of took a 180 and just did entrepreneurial in real estate.
You're straight entrepreneurial now.
Yeah, there's no going back. all my licenses are like, certification licenses are done.
Really?
Yep, because you have to renew your PMP, I think, every 4 years.
Didn't know that.
No, it's a pain to get, but
no, yeah, that makes sense. And then to keep it.
Okay. What was that? The West Point. What was it like? That's not a school. That's not a regular school.
No,
That's right.
No.
Yeah, tell us.
Okay, so honestly, I didn't really know much about West Point until like sophomore, junior year of high school, when my mom kind of pushed me to that. I was like, didn't know anything about it, but because my mom's dad was in the military, they were very military oriented. So West Point is a little bit of a interesting thing. It's basically the United States Military Academy. You have to get a congressional nomination, do well, be more well-rounded in order to even qualify. Like, you have to pass, like, in order to even be accepted, you have to get a nomination, got to pass a physical test, got to pass a medical test, got to do well in your ACT, SAT, got to be, part of a student body, demonstrate some sort of leadership or extracurricular activity. So they evaluate everything, and they kind of make a profile on you and see whether you're, I guess, competitive or not. I was a risk. It was one of those, like, Hail Mary. I happened to be in the right district at the right time, so they accepted me. But if I was in, like, Tomball or Klein ISD, I probably didn't have a shot.
Where were you? What do you mean?
So each congressman, each senator, they have X number of nominations to give, right? So if you're more in, like, the lower class area, there's a higher probability that you'll get a nomination, because there's not as many people competing for that
Makes sense. Okay.
position.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got lucky because I guess my competition wasn't that great. Now that I'm basically a MALO officer, which is a field force officer for West Point right now. So I interview high school candidates. So I'm on the other side now, and I could see it. And I was like,
That's cool.
Okay. So whenever I do interviews with high schoolers, I'm like, wow, your SAT, ACT, your GPA is very well, like, very good.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, there's no way I compete against you.
Okay, so you still help out with the Army, doing Army stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm technically in a special position in the inactive reserves. So I do all this more on voluntary basis.
I was about to say, is this on your free time?
Yeah, free time.
Okay.
But, it's me giving back, and then also counting some time in the Army.
Dang.
That's legit.
Got in, and it's one of those things where the, I guess, acceptance rate hovers between 8 to 10% of all applicants. And then from there, once you get in, your school is paid for. You get a little stipend each month, and then what they want to, market it as, you get a guaranteed job for 5 years.
Yeah.
Which means you have to be in the Army.
Yeah, but you got it and you didn't quit. I know there's a lot of people who actually quit when they're in there.
I almost quit. There was a lot of times I almost quit. I almost punched so many people.
Yeah.
Like, just going from not understanding discipline and I guess that rigorous schedule. I wasn't used to people, I wasn't used to waking up at 5, 6 a.m. I wasn't used to people yelling in my face. So when that happened, when I first, went to West Point, went to their boot camp, and people started yelling in my face, I was so angry, because I was like, I'm going to punch you.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not
Dang.
used to that. So it took a lot.
So you adapted.
I had no choice. Yeah.
Do you realize, just because I know a little bit more about you from knowing you for years, okay, that makes a lot more sense why you're so good at adapting now into situations?
Yeah.
Because you're, for one, an entrepreneur. The type of real estate you're in, as in you do residential, you have some Airbnbs?
Yep. I had two, sold one.
You
Now I only
okay.
have one.
Okay, in Houston? Mm-hmm. What else do you do?
Yeah. Been a super host like 4 or 5 consecutive times
That's what
already.
I'm talking about.
Yeah. But I'm getting tired of it, honestly. It's
Really?
a lot of work. Yeah.
What do you mean? A lot of work.
So-
The maintenance?
Yes. Maintenance, upkeep. Like since I do it on my own, then I have to keep remembering who's checking in, who's checking out. There are times where like I was so tired, I just passed out. I woke up the next morning, I get like 10 phone calls saying, "Hey, we're in front of your house. What's the check-in information?" I was like, "Oh, I forgot." So they stayed at a hotel, and I had to
Accommodate.
I had to accommodate. I felt so bad. I was like, "Hey, just stay the rest of the week for free." you know?
Okay.
But stuff like that is like
Yeah.
you have to be
On top
on
of
it. Yeah,
Okay.
That's high demand.
yeah.
What part of town?
It's in Clear Lake.
Okay. Okay. I'm like, what else is out there? It's growing out there.
NASA,
Yeah.
Kima.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of people.
It's on the way to Galveston.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I have a lot of people who like interns with NASA, and they're like staying with me for like a couple months.
Smart. Look at you using your brain. Okay, and you got your first house at 26.
Still have it.
Is that the house you had like roommates and stuff? Your main house?
No. This was when I was still in the Army.
Okay.
So for most people who are getting into real estate, the best thing to do at a young age is to buy a house and do what they call house hacking, which is rent a room, right? Mm-hmm. So you buy the house, rent each room for maybe $400 or $500, right? If your note is $2,000 and you have 2 roommates, half of it's already taken care of. So what I did was I used my VA loan to buy a 4-plex in Killeen, Texas.
Okay.
At the time, I didn't know what I was doing. I was freaking out. I was like, "Oh, this home is not a good deal." There was a lot of maintenance I needed to do, but still bought it nonetheless. And 3 of the units were rented out, and I was able to stay in the last unit for free.
Okay.
So my whole entire mortgage was covered. And then on top of that, I had a roommate for a couple months. So he paid me another $300-$400. So I was really just making.
Sure. Yeah.
I was making
Profiting.
each month while saving money on my rent/mortgage.
So, but how did you know to do that?
Oh, I didn't.
Okay.
I just took a risk.
Okay.
Yeah, that was one of the risky ones. So I think I bought this at like $155,000. And right now, according to my buddy who's a realtor out there, he says the home is worth approximately like $350,000.
Wow.
So just bought it and hold it, and it appreciated just because of all the traffic that's coming into Austin and slowly expanding out there.
Dang.
You got some resilience in you. Yeah, I like that.
I go hard or go home.
You mentioned discipline earlier. You learned it at West Point. What is discipline to you? Like, what is that like?
Oh man, discipline to me is being able to wake up and doing things you don't want to do. Like if you there's a difference between like motivation and discipline, right? Motivation is you hear a motivational speech and you're like, let's do it. And the next couple of days you're on it.
Yep.
But then after that,
It dies.
it falls off. Discipline to me is whenever you do something, even if you don't want to do it, even if you don't feel like it, but you have to have that specific routine day in and day out and put in that work.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I learned that this past couple of years. I didn't have it. I lacked some things when I was at a younger age. But again, it's just I wasn't surrounded by much of it. And so,
Yeah.
but you learned at a younger age.
Yeah, and the weird part is that now that I'm out of the Army, even though I feel like I'm doing a lot, I feel like compared to what I did in the Army and at West Point, I was like, man, I need to step it up more. I need to do more.
Yeah.
I'm capable of doing so much more. And I'm like, but then again, that's how I burn myself out.
Yeah.
So you have
The
to find
balance.
a good balance. Yeah.
How are you doing now?
Horrible. Yeah, like I focus. It's been like I've been like focusing really hard on one thing, and then I lack something else.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find a good balance between everything.
Are you still doing investment sides of things?
Yes.
Okay.
So right now we're currently doing 2 flips right now. We're just finishing one in Spring Branch and the other one we're finishing up in, I think, closer to Fifth Ward.
Okay.
So we're doing 2 flips. My partner, she actually closed on a property in Brazoria, Texas. That was a riverfront property. We did minimal renovations, and then we put it on the market, and we made a good amount.
Good profit.
Yeah, so it's a good profit margin right there.
So whenever you say flipping, are you flipping and holding, flipping and selling, renting out? What does it
a
just
little bit of-
depend on the scenario?
Yeah, it depends on the scenario, and a little bit of both, right? Originally, I was supposed to keep all the properties in Fifth Ward, but because we're kind of maxed out, we need to replenish our funds.
Yeah.
We have to sell some.
Okay.
So, I mean, the name of the game for me is to buy and hold long term because I do believe in the appreciation
Yeah.
and the cash flow.
Right.
But sometimes, whenever you're doing so many projects,
have
you
to
have a
get rid
lot
of
of
it.
holding costs you have to sell. Yeah.
Dang.
So that's what we're doing right now.
How do you deal with that risk? Like the stress that comes to that. To me,
Oh.
like that just seems stressful.
An unknown.
Like, yeah, like I'm putting my money in this pot right now, hoping that I get something back.
Oh man, that's like crippling anxiety. A lot of bottles of wine, sleepless nights. Like it gets pretty stressful. I guess the best way to explain how I cope with this is I'm kind of just praying.
Give it to God.
I give it to God. Like, Jesus, take the wheel, please, Lord, and just hustling extra hard. Like after these couple flips, I think I'm gonna slow it down a little bit. The last 18 months has been like the most stressful outside of the Army that I've ever been.
Oh wow.
So now once it slows down, I could just kind of recoup, save up, and then slowly start reinvesting again.
Do you strategize?
No, I just if you ever play Monopoly where you you start rolling the dice,
you land there
and you land something, it's like, I want to buy that. I want to buy that. I want to buy that. That's exactly what happened to me, and I bit off more than I could chew. I can honestly say I bit off more than I could chew, and now I'm kind of dealing on the back end of things. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's fun. It's a good life lesson.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change it.
But yeah.
Yeah, you're built for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are not. A lot of people lose their mind.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Some stability. I need some stability.
Yeah, that's a tough part, especially because not only am I dealing on the investment side, but I also deal on my real estate agent side, and sometimes you have bad months because winter, no one really buys during the winter time. It usually picks up during the end of the beginning of the summer, spring.
Yeah.
Just because school ends. But whenever we're in wintertime and there's no income coming in, and I still have to deal with the investment side, it gets pretty stressful on that end.
Yeah, all money's going out, nothing's coming
Exactly.
in. Yeah, I know that feeling.
How
Yeah.
the heck how do you balance this work life and your personal life? How do you not do you show your anxiety?
No, no,
like
I
I feel like you know how some people just hold it together really well and some don't. Like we're irritable, we're human beings.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, how the heck do you manage?
He does it.
Do you just get in your car and yell and that kind of keeps you composed?
It's
or
more
what?
it's more at night because because during the day it's more I'm always on the go, I always have stuff to do, so my mind's always focused on something. But then once the nighttime hits and I have nothing else to do and it slows down, then that's when the thoughts creep in. I'm like, all right, I have to worry about this. I have to worry about next month. I have to worry about when and where the money's coming in. So, but that's kind of how I deal with things.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it's worked out so far.
Yeah.
I've had to sell some assets to keep afloat, but outside of that, it's been, between 2020 and now,
Yeah.
I've probably picked up maybe about 10 to 12 properties.
Yeah.
So I think moving forward from here on out is probably only going to be 1 to 2, if then,
Okay.
But that's something you learn throughout these past few years
Trial
of doing
and error.
it. Trial and error through flips. Sometimes it's the contractor, sometimes it's overestimating the resale value and underestimating the rehab expense. Sometimes it's just, the Airbnbs, selecting the right locations. So it's just been a lot of, paying my dues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You told me a story the other day. Was it you about contractors? You had a friend and he didn't get paid. Why?
Oh yes.
A friend of yours.
Yeah, he
'Cause
does
I'm like,
work.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because usually contractors don't get paid until like after the job.
Depends. Sometimes contractors, they like to have 50% up front and then 50% in the back end.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, on the flip side, I've dealt with contractors who kind of made it seem like a rush thing. Like, hey, we need more materials for
They
this.
never come.
Exactly. They take the money and they leave.
Yeah.
Really?
I've had that before.
Yeah, I've had that before too myself. I wasn't even doing contract. We were hiring some people out. We paid them before and never got them. But I have a buddy of mine who they install blinds for like big buildings and everything.
Right.
And they do the job because their clients are so huge. They get a whole building. Like, we're gonna get paid. They'll do the job, and now they're like making phone calls. It's been like 6 months, haven't got paid.
Goodness.
Yeah,
That's rough.
yeah. That's where he had like he was having a rough morning the other day. He was like, I've been calling these people for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You lose out. Goodness. Yeah. How are you with your contractors? I feel like they are gold to find. Having the good,
finding good contractors is like a gold mine. You find them, you keep them, you do whatever you need to do to make them happy because they will make or break your deal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to be fair, I've gone through a lot of contractors, whether because they took too long or they underestimated the rehab budget and that cost me money on the back end. But I'm finding my contractors through word of mouth, social media group, giving them small projects here and there to see the quality of the work and then kind of give them the bigger projects on the back end.
Okay. It's an interesting world.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm kind of on the same boat with you when it comes to like the money part. Like, you're as an entrepreneur, there's no day-to-day check coming in. There's no like guaranteed every 2 weeks I'm getting this paycheck.
Right.
And that's like been my thing lately. It's like I'm getting money now, but it's tax season. So what happens off season? What am I going to do? How am I going to offset for the off season? What am I going to do? How am I planning for that? And it's like it's not crippling because I'm going to work. I'm still doing but I'm grinding as much as I can because I know it's not always be coming in. It's
the unknown.
The unknown. That's the scary part.
Yeah, that's why I'm always on my phone. Like even on my off time, it's like that's the one thing I miss about the Army is like whenever you're on vacation on your weekends, 9 times out of 10, you're like, all right, don't bother me until Monday. But for real estate and being an entrepreneur, it's like you're always on.
24/7. Like
if someone calls me, I'm answering that phone, no matter if I'm here in Houston or if I'm 8 hours away.
Yeah.
Like I remember a time when I was in like Hawaii, right? I was supposed to take my 10-day vacation, but I was making sure my clients were happy. So I would stay up 1 a.m. and then I wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. because of the
Time
6 hour-ish time difference. So I have to schedule it at night and then get the feedback in the morning. Yeah. So I wouldn't sleep.
You've always been, and that's why I always recommend you to like my family and friends, just because, I mean, obviously we became friends, but you do that. Not a lot of people commit, you know what I mean? Or just that, like.
He has a background. He has the foundation built for it. He gets it done.
I have to. I got to get paid somehow.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised though. You know what I mean?
That's
like
true.
Just dealing with multiple.
People are like, oh, they ain't going to pay me that much anyway. It's
Yeah,
a friend
yeah.
or whatever.
Exactly. Nope, for sure. And just being in the title world, and I have a lot of relationships. I don't know. So I'm commending you, and I know you feel awkward whenever you get compliments.
A little bit, yeah.
Hey, we all deserve it.
That's true.
I feel like,
Yeah, the hustle.
I wanted to ask you, okay, so on obstacles, I wanted to talk about that today, and I know it took us a while to get there. But does any particular where your brain is going? Are you trying to figure out which obstacle you should talk about when it comes to real estate? Like, I'm curious because I know things have not been easy for you.
Oh,
I know it changes day to day. You're burning out fires all the time.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, if I want to talk about different obstacles, like one is the transition between a stable career, paycheck to paycheck, versus an entrepreneurship where you don't know where your next paycheck is. So I think that was a huge obstacle, when I first started in real estate, because I didn't understand the time gap between whenever I find a client, get them under contract, and it
How long it
close,
takes.
which is about 30 days, 30 to 60 days really. So that means I have to forecast my paycheck 30 to 60 days out.
What made you stick with that? What made you love it so much?
The flexibility. It's like a double-edged sword. Like, I get to choose, my hours basically, and I get to choose, how many days of vacation I could take a year. But on the flip side, I'm still always working. So
yeah.
the flexibility is there, but it's not there.
You're on vacation working.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But I would say for people who are scared of transitioning from a paycheck to paycheck to an entrepreneur, just have a good nest egg saved up.
Yeah.
You know, have a couple fallback plans. Obviously, I didn't want to choose the fallback plans, but worst case scenario, if something happened, I had a fallback.
Yeah.
So, you know, for me, I had a few months of money saved up, so where I was able to hold off if I didn't have any closings for that month or that 2 months. You know, eventually, I would say, honestly, things got bad for me when I first started real estate because I'm pretty sure you heard this a lot, but a lot of real estate agents, their first 2 years are like the absolute hardest because their name is not out there. People don't, you know, realize they're real estate agents just yet. So for me at the time when I was training with Ozzy, like the training was impeccable, but I wasn't much of a cold caller, right? So I didn't fit their culture per se because Ozzy's team is a very cold call heavy team.
Their structure was that.
Yes.
Okay.
So what I did was, in order for me to survive in real estate, I had to switch over to a team that was more marketing heavy. So a lot of inbound leads, a lot of PPC, which is I guess paying for Zillow, stuff like that.
Okay.
So immediately once I switched to my next team, which is the Blythe team out in League City, I was immediately putting like 3 or 4 people under contract in the first month.
Dang.
Because they had the people coming in. It was just making sure that we find the right house for them. Okay. So after all the training, after all the, you know, objection handling, the script practice, I understood how to talk to a person, what to say.
Yeah.
So
what questions to ask.
Exactly. So I took Ozzy's training and implemented it with the Blythe team. And I became a very successful agent with the team itself to the point where I was like, all right, now I have to weigh myself whether or not I still want to be on team or if I want to be a solo agent.
And so then you became a solo agent.
Yep.
How long ago?
I would say within, I guess 1 year, more or less 1 year after I got my license, because I went to Ozzy's team and then the Blythe team and then kind of stayed there for a little bit and then went solo after that.
So you figured it out fairly quickly.
Yes.
Considering the statistic of the 1 to 2 years, how it normally can potentially go.
Right. Granted, I feel like I was on the slow end because I know some agents who are 22, 23 years old and they're absolutely crushing it. But then again, one of them like started with Cutco knives. So if he was knocking on doors selling Cutco knives and doing it successfully,
selling the house,
he could make it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it took me a little bit of transition, a little bit of time to understand the sales and everything on that side of things.
Okay.
What are some things you had to personally develop? Like, you know, you had to learn the skills that you need now to survive in your field that you didn't have.
Some of the skills, basically, I had to know everything there is to know about real estate, right? Whether it's, you know, the investment side, the first-time home buyer side, the listing side, I have to learn all that. So in order for me to become a successful agent, I have to be able to answer this question immediately. So whenever someone's like, "Oh, okay, what do you think, you know, my monthly mortgage is going to be?" Well, I'm not a mortgage guy, but I guess like ballpark range, I think it's going to be this, right? What do you think, you know, my home will sell? How much do you think it'll sell for? I was like, well, just at a quick glance at the home sold in this area, I could tell you this price immediately. Or what are some other ways I could get inside a house with, you know, very little money down? You know, that goes into the creative financing, the investment side. So I have to be able to answer all these questions, and it just takes time to learn this, right? Going through a lot of classes, podcasts, reading a lot of books about it, you know, practicing it on my own to say like, hey, I've done the fix and flip, I've done the subject to, I've done the owner finance.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of time and experience, and then on top of that, I had to figure out what my niche was, right? So I can't necessarily market myself to Hispanic people because, one, I'm Asian, and two, I don't really know Spanish, right? So if I'm trying to, you know, say, oh, I'm a great Spanish speaking agent, and someone calls me out on it, I'm like, well, I would be doing my clients a disservice. So I had to figure out what do I do really well and who I can relate to. So in this particular case, that's military people. So most of my clientele are veterans. So that, you know, people come and go because there's a lot of recruitment stations here. There's a lot of people who are retiring and moving back to Houston. So I'm helping a lot of veterans out find homes using their VA loans. So I can honestly tell you, like, I'm one of the more knowledgeable agents with the VA loans. But I know other agents who crush it on Instagram, right? I know other agents who crush it on YouTube because that's what they're known for. That's their expertise. So as an agent who's starting off, you have to find that right, their strengths in it, market on that.
Dang.
That's very smart.
Yeah.
It's very humble. You got to know that. You got to know yourself pretty much.
Exactly.
That's legit.
What are you more focused on right now? I know you mentioned kind of not doing as much investing. Are you just kind of doing solely residential?
Yes. Okay. So I'm slowly doing residential right now. I mean, obviously, I still have my day-to-day job, which is the real estate side. Yeah. So, before the interview, I was telling you, like, I'm already showing 20 houses over the weekend. Yeah. So I'm doing that. But at the same time, once I'm finishing up these 2 flips that I'm having, then we're just going to kind of be a little bit more selective in terms of which properties we're going to buy. Okay. So we have a couple that are in the pipeline right now that is super cheap. So I'd say our estimate cash to close to purchase the house is under $5,000. So it's a really good deal. So we're like, we're running the numbers, and then we're probably going to pick those up in the next few months after these flips. Okay. So, but in the meantime, my whole focus right now is to ensure these flips are completed, to the best, like, top quality and everything, and probably like the cheapest on the market, so it can sell quickly. So that way we don't have to deal with that holding cost, because right now we're doing a lot of hard money lending, which means it's interest only payments. And those payments are like at a 10-12% interest rate. Yeah. So those are crushing anything any money I'm bringing in, it's immediately going to them. Yep.
Are you, with those flips, have you experienced anything, like, do you have any wild stories? I don't know. You told me a story. Did someone stole?
Yeah. So this is actually my high-end flip. So the one time I decided to do a high-end flip, because normally my flips are in the $200,000, $300,000 range. This one is in the $600,000. Yeah. So obviously the holding cost is high, right? But my contractors told me, hey, we should buy the flooring now. So I'm like, okay, great. I went to Floor & Decor, bought some engineering hardwood flooring that's on sale. But even on sale was still pricey. So we bought a ton of materials that they just put in one of the bedrooms. Well, it turns out they weren't ready to actually do the flooring. So now we just had thousands of dollars in materials hanging out inside the house. So while we were out of town, because we had a bachelor party in Colombia, I get a phone call. It's like, hey, all the materials are stolen. Like, they stole $5,000 worth of flooring materials. I'm like, okay. All right.
Okay.
The anger within me was just like,
wow. How did you keep yourself together?
Oh, I didn't. I was so mad. Like, it was one of those things where I was like, oh my God, I need to install like those wireless cameras. Yeah, like the one with the phone plans. So I'm thinking, like, I need to buy those phone plan cameras. I needed to, be prepared, have someone stay watch, something like that. It was some dark thoughts there. It was some very Texan dark thoughts. But after that, then we came across another hiccup because the flooring was uneven. So I don't know what happened, but the previous owners had different type of flooring. So it was like very unleveled. So we didn't know this, but at the time my contractor was like, yeah, we should just buy some LVP because it's a little bit more flexible. So we did, and we bought high-end LVP, and it still wasn't even. So we had a lot of hiccups, and we had to redo the flooring, lay more concrete before we put the actual high-end flooring in. So it was a lot more money that we didn't expect.
You didn't need to see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some learning
budget for it. Yeah, exactly.
You learned a lot these past
It's
years.
a very expensive lessons here. It's more than my college tuition.
And you're still going for it, though.
I have no choice.
Yeah.
I mean, I learned this already, so I might as well just keep going, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I know some people who did their first flip, lost $80,000.
And they quit.
Right?
Yeah.
But they could have used what they learned in that first flip and, look out for the next deal, and then they could probably make that back over, 2 or 3 flips after that. So
it's a good way to look at it.
Just don't quit,
What fuels you? Does anything specific, like what makes you want to keep doing this every single day? I mean, it sounds like does anything specific, have you always been, motivated and disciplined? I guess you could say.
I would say what fuels me is because my bad habits really fuel me. Right? So
Tell me more.
I have a really bad habit of traveling.
Okay, that's
right?
fair. Yeah, that's a good point.
So in order to support my bad habits, I got to figure out how to make money. Right? So one thing I was very passionate about as a kid is, some sort of business or real estate, because I've seen the amount of wealth accumulated over time through those things. Right? It's not a fast get quick rich scheme, but it's one of those things where, like, over time, I've seen people build a lot of wealth through real estate. So saw my dad do it. I wanted
really?
to, yeah. He owned a couple houses.
Okay.
So I saw him, he was able to pay them off, and now he had his retirement fund was a little bit of Social Security, and then also, the rent income that he receives from these paid off houses. So I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. I really want to do that. So in order to fund my bad habits of traveling, I have to, build wealth and make money at the same time. So I'm trying to, again, find a good balance where I'm able to travel on, let's say 5-10 times a year.
Yeah.
And then also try and retire by like 45.
Okay.
Right. So we're trying to find a good happy medium. That's why I'm always working nonstop.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, I don't want to work till I'm 60.
Right. You know what you want.
Yeah.
You have a vision,
you
could say.
So I think the goal is to, by the time I'm 45, to own at least 50 to 75 properties.
In Houston or all over? Does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Whatever pays the bills, really.
Yeah. Whatever
Right.
opportunity comes your way.
And out of that 50, if I'm making $200, $300 a month, that could supplement someone else's salary right there.
Yeah.
I'd hate to do your taxes.
Yeah. my accountant, my tax guy hates me.
Really?
So much.
Yeah, I call him up every time. Like, I call him up a couple times a year. I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. My whole tax is complete mess. Please forgive me. He's like, I got you. Don't worry.
That's amazing. I'm learning the tax. How has tax season been for you recently?
Busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot of real estate
Stressful.
people on my schedule ease.
That's right.
Oh my
You
goodness.
said that. Okay.
Yeah.
They're annoying.
But the good thing about having your own business is all the write-offs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm able to write off a ton of business expenses, whether that be, especially when I'm traveling, right? So if I'm at let's just say a real estate conference, I could take a couple of days off and explore the city and have that as a business write-off.
Why are the conferences always at cool places too?
That's not,
Like
exactly.
Vegas,
They know what they're doing.
Colorado.
Exactly.
Okay. So you utilize that time.
Exactly, yeah.
It's a win-win. See, there you go. There's a good balance. Work,
100%.
and then you get to play.
So a lot of stuff we do is tax write-off. So it's very beneficial as an entrepreneur. If you're making a good amount of money, you can write off all these business expenses for, the marketing, taking clients out to dinner.
Yeah.
Right? You take a client out to dinner, you're eating a nice dinner. You know what I mean? So that means I get a nice dinner because I'm not gonna go out and eat like a high-end dinner by myself. You know? But if I take out a client, that's a business expense.
Yeah. Okay. Thought of some avenues. I have one, I guess, last question. Through all these years, are you surrounding yourself by people that also kind of have the same, is it niche type, as in like the entrepreneurs? For one, having the entrepreneur mindset to keep you going. But how do you keep staying educated when it comes to... Did I just ask a lot of questions all in one?
Oh, yeah,
do you understand?
That was a ton of questions.
Okay, surrounding yourself. That's the main question. Are you surrounding yourself by obviously like-minded people?
Yeah, so for the business side, I do. Right, my personal side is a little different because all my personal side is like my army boys.
Yeah.
So it's a little different.
Yeah.
But on my day-to-day, I try and keep in good communications and relations with other top producing agents.
Yeah.
So whether we're on group chats, we're on Zoom calls, or whether we're doing real estate conferences each year, I'm always trying to network with them, because I went to a couple this past couple of years that they taught me how to implement AI into my business. They taught me how to, improve my Google business page. So if I didn't even go to their conference or reach out to them, I would have never known these things. So on a day-to-day basis, I'm always talking to people and, picking their brain to see what they do successfully, and if I could try and implement that into my business and, help more families find homes.
Yeah.
But on my personal side, it's like, just thankfully, a lot of my West Point buddies are like high functioning individuals, right? We have one of my buddies graduated from Yale.
Goodness.
Duke. One's in special forces. One is like in the 82nd Airborne, just crushing it right now.
Yeah.
One is a medical sales device. Like, there's a lot of people doing a lot of things successfully.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those things where I try and surround myself with not only just, entrepreneurs, but just good people in general.
Winners.
Yeah, winners. Good people in general.
Yeah. It's a different type of mindset, and obviously genuine. We want them to be good to us and each other. So.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any last questions? I don't know. Yeah.
I got a lot, but
Go.
no, I got a lot. Literally, I'm going to talk to him after the podcast.
I had a question. Hold on. I wrote down. Let's see what I have. Okay. Well, are there any specific habits or mindsets that have been crucial to your success?
Habits and mindsets.
Because we know you don't get up at 8 a.m. or 6 a.m. or so to go to the gym.
It's because I really hate working out in the morning. I've never been a morning person.
That's fair. Well, shoot, you got yelled at in the face, I guess.
Yeah.
I think that
In
gave
the Army.
PTSD for
Exactly.
more.
I'm just not a morning person. I would gladly work out at
You can pick and choose now.
10 p.m.
Yeah, that's right. You do. Okay.
But that also just depends on my work schedule.
Your life. Yeah.
Life and work schedule. But habits and mindsets. Personally, I should be doing this more, but I need to be living and breathing by my calendar. So anything that's on my calendar, I need to do, right? So after, X number of times, it's kind of like, even though it's repetitive, at least you time block certain things out to make time for what you want to do and what you need to do.
That's a good one, time
So,
blocking.
yeah, my Aussies team, huge time blockers.
Okay.
So they were like, all right, 9 a.m., 9 to 11, lead gen. You're calling, you're hitting the phones, you're calling people. 11 to 12, lunch. 1 to 3, meeting out clients. 3 to 5, maybe appointments or picking up your kid from school, and then dinner, and then type of thing.
Yeah.
So I would say always time blocks to develop a good routine and good habit.
That's a good one. I need to practice that.
Do I do it? No.
Okay, so you need to get better at it.
I need to get better at it.
Okay, well,
yes.
shoot, you just said it out loud to the world, so
Yep.
maybe now
I
the
need
intention will be
I need
there.
a time block, yes.
Do you time block? You're all over the place, too.
Well, sometimes I'm more structured more
Okay.
recently, if anything. I do have a calendar. I do got appointments that I got set out before the week and everything. I got people I meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Wednesdays are actual work days.
Yeah.
Tuesdays and Thursdays are the people I meet to go over their tax return and to tell them why they got to pay most of the time.
Yeah, if you talk to any high producing agent or a high functioning individual, they would say, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, same. That's how I've been. Yeah, if it's not there, I forgot. I'm sorry. I become a slave to it recently. Like, if I look at it, I know what I'm doing. I have a mental calendar as well. I know what time I'm going to work. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
The time we're doing the podcast.
Yeah,
These are
it's being
things
consistent and consistency.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm going to pull on you?
Oh, no. What?
No, you know how you're big in the community. You've interviewed businesses, because you're just a big, you support small businesses.
Yes.
Your question to a lot of them is, if you had any advice to give to any entrepreneur starting out, what would that be?
Oh, man. Why would you do this to me?
I wanted to hear your answer. Never heard it before.
I guess, damn.
Yeah.
This is tough. Okay. Sounds very cliche.
It's fine.
But in order to be successful, you need to fail quick and fail often. Right? Every step to failure is one step to success.
Yeah.
Right? You take one step back, take 2 steps forward because you're learning from your mistakes. But if you don't commit, if you don't jump to, doing the next risk, doing the next thing, you'll just be stuck in the kind of like a hamster wheel where you're doing the same thing, same routine.
The what if.
And expect something different.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to take that one in.
Yeah, failure's a prerequisite to
Look
success.
at you.
Yeah, no pressure. I just kind of made that on my
That's good.
See, it's organic. He asked me, well, what are we going to be talking about? And I was like, well, it's going to be kind of organic. I do kind of have like a script and stuff to kind of keep us together. But still, I just like to have true, honest conversation. So, no last questions? I talked a lot today.
So you interview guests? You interview people, entrepreneurs?
I do.
Yeah.
I did a lot of small businesses last year. Granted, I need to pick that up this year. I've just been more focused on trying to finish out my flips before I can start, interviewing more people. I'm trying to do like more of a cost analysis benefit here.
Yeah.
So I'm sure people can go back and listen to that. Where could they find that? Or podcast? What was it?
It's on my Instagram.
There you go.
So I had a lot of interviews on my Instagram.
What is your handle? Do you know that off the top of your head?
Mike G Realtor.
Mike G, guys, go follow him. Mike G Realtor. He's got some good stuff. Travel content. This guy likes to travel.
Yeah.
Again, supports small businesses and just, personal and real estate side. But thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you. Talking.
We only like illustrious guests here, so when Gianna said to you, I was like, let's do it.
I was like, yes, and so I was glad you said yes. And you were in town.
I would say yes.
But you were in. I never know where you're freaking across the world all the time.
Always doing something.
Yeah. But anyways, y'all stay tuned for the next one. Thanks for joining.
See you guys.